Hi, everybody. October 12th, also known as CPI Day. Welcome to the Market Update Desk. Scott Riley and Mortgage One. We had a very busy morning. Senior analyst Gibson decided to bypass breakfast kibbles and treats so that he could start to dig deep into all those numbers and get the data to me here. So let's go right into it. So headline or all-in CPI or inflation came in at plus four tenths of a percent. For last month, the market was expecting 3/10. So we came in a little bit hotter than expected. Year over year stayed steady at 3.7%. Core came in at 3/10 of a percent up, which was in line with estimates, and decreased year over year from 4.3% to 4.1%. So we're getting a little bit of ground that we're making up on the core. Shelter, which threw us a little bit of a curveball, and I'll kind of go into why. It's a very interesting metric. So shelter costs went up 0.6 of a percent, decreased year over year from 7.3 to 7.2%. Rents went up 0.5% and decreased year over year from 7.8 to 7.4. So we continue to make that ground up in rents. Owner equivalence rents came in 0.6 of a percent higher, in line with estimates again, and decreased year over year from 7.3 to 7.1. Now, here's the weird oddball that we got, and I'll go into why. Lodging away from home, which takes into account things like Airbnb, hotels, motels, things like that. The report gave us an increase of 3.7%, not 0.3 of a percent, but 3.7%. The reason for that was there was a seasonal adjustment that the report gave, which then created a 3.7% increase, which now luckily lodging away from home only constitutes 1.5% of overall core, but it did have a statistical effect on it. Now, when we dug deep into that, we have to ask ourselves, does anybody think Airbnbs, hotels, motels are going down in cost? Or, we tend to see them getting slower rather than busier. So where did this magical statistical anomaly come from? Why was there a seasonal adjustment of 3.7%? It just doesn't make sense. So these are additional reports we've got questions on. It gets to the point where you go, how much can we really trust of what's being given out in reports, whether it's the BLS or CPI or PPI? There's just way too many variables here. Now, one of the things Chairman Powell has been talking about that they want to focus on is the 6-month run rate on headline and core. So when we look at that 6-month run rate, headline is coming in at 3.7%. Core is coming in at 3.5%. So we're seeing continued decreases in those. But for a lot of the Fed members, we're not seeing them as fast as what they would like. Now, about 6 months ago, the Fed was chirping. They wanted to concentrate on a new data point called the super core rate. Well, now, interestingly, they haven't talked about that the last couple of months. Now, when we look at the super core rate for this last report, came in at up 0.1% or 1/10. Year over year, it was giving us 2%. So I'm a big sports person, so we keep moving the goalposts. Instead of here, we move it to here, we move it to here. So all of a sudden, the super core is giving us the data point that the Fed wants. But lo and behold, they're going, no, we're not focusing on that as much when it actually hits their magic number of 2%. Now, going into more specifics of what's in the categories in the CPI, used car prices, which makes up 3.4% of core, declined 2.5% last month. EA, so we're down 8% year over year. Now, this next category, my buddy Brad with Shield Agency is going to love. Motor vehicle insurance, up 1.3%. That's per month. That's not a fraction. It's not a tenth, but it's a 1.3% increase to give us 19% up year over year. Energy was up 1.5%, and gasoline up 2.1%. Gasoline's actually up 3% year over year. Food, which makes up 13.4% of headline, was up 0.2%, and now year over year 3.7%. Health insurance, this one's a kind of a weird one. And I'm going to post all these graphics later on also. Health insurance, due to some weird statistical things that they're doing, shows a decrease of 3.5% and down 37% year over year. Do any of us think health insurance costs are going down? Any, let alone almost 30% year over year? No is the answer. So, it just doesn't make sense. You see these statistical anomalies. Now, we see a decrease. We do have concerns that maybe in a couple of reports from now, we're going to see this flip and we're going to see some positive numbers, which realistically it should. And how's that going to affect us? Motor vehicle insurance, to give you an idea, if that was flat for the year, we would have a decrease of 0.7% in CPI. So the inflation numbers would look dramatically different and be much more in the lines of what even Fed member Michelle Bowman wants, and would reduce some of the talk of increasing rates. In fact, we may have seen talks of decreasing Fed rates. So motor vehicle insurance, like I said, if it was flat, we'd be down 0.7. Now, the Fed, they're talking about, this is quantitative tightening. They're raising rates. No matter if they raised it to 20%, you're not going to change the motor vehicle aspect of this, because natural disasters, is the Fed rate going to change hail damage? Is it going to change tornadoes, hurricanes? Is it going to change earthquakes, floods? No. So when we talk about the restrictive Fed policy, it doesn't affect these aspects. And that's why, what we're getting out of the Fed is really this fight, like we've talked about, between the Doves and the Hawks. Now, the shelter component, I wanted a quick cover here, because it takes up so much of the core CPI, 43.7%. If we looked at including the lag effect with rent, we'd see almost a 1.8% difference in CPI. When you look at the current renewal rents and new rents compared to the lag effect of where we had it so high a year ago. So it would put the real CPI at closer to about 2.4%. Why the Fed doesn't talk about these lag effects or take it into account, we really have to question, and still haven't got great answers from the Fed on that, because they have been asked about these lag effects. Now, we did recently hear from Fed Governor Bowman, who, by the way, is an attorney, lawyer, not a trained economist. She keeps trumpeting multiple more rate hikes, very much on the hawkish end. On the other hand, we get economists, trained economists, not attorneys within the Fed, who've acknowledged that the risk of hiking too much and that the Fed does not need to do anymore. These are direct quotes. Fed Governor Waller said that the financial markets are doing tightening for the Fed and feels we have been getting very good inflation data. Atlanta Fed President Bostic believes the Fed funds rate is sufficiently restrictive and does not feel additional rate hikes are needed anymore. We're clearly seeing dissent from Fed members moving more to a dovish policy, and that's being trumpeted by the actual trained economists, not the attorneys within the Fed, which is what we want to hear. We want to hear people that have been trained on this, not attorneys that don't have the background, data, training to go through all this data and talk more intelligently, frankly, about what policy needs to be. On the technical side, man, we had a fantastic last 48 hours in the mortgage-backed security market and the bond market, clawing back a gigantic amount of what we've been losing for the last month. We are seeing a retreat from that today, unsurprising, because of the headline data that's in the CPI report and the fact that not enough people are digging deep into it, like the Market Update desk does, and gets the information to you. Mortgage-backed securities are down 26 basis points. 10-year Treasury is now up 7 basis points to 4.64, but we're still tremendously better than where we were a week ago. What this means is buyers act now. Go out there this weekend, start to look at getting offers accepted. Work with great agents. We have a great network of agents that we work with and we communicate with that help get their buyers offers accepted by having strong relationships, long history in the market, and use a lot of our information to help get offers accepted. So give us a call, 616-293-2189. This is all information we try to get out to everybody. Use that data, use that information at the Market Update desk to help get your offer accepted. We are working, we usually have the phones on until 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. So when you're out looking at homes, we're open and available, unlike your bank and credit union. Give us a call, 616-293-2189. Have a great day.